Begrudgingly, the Premier League is back, which means Aston Villa take on Everton. Everton's new stadium, I can't remember what it's called, like the Brooks Penny Solicitors Stadium or something or other, but it means that Aston Villa are back and with a chance to get our first win of the Premier League season. We are going to be previewing the game today, going through the lineups, tactics that could be used, the possible link-ups that we could exploit in that Everton team, the player matchups and stuff like that, all that good stuff. But it also means that it's the return of FPL. We have 39 people last time I checked in the FPL League, code on the screen. Can we get it up to 50 before the Everton game? Go over and join. It's all you guys, Aston Villa heroes, legends and fans on the channel are in that FPL battling it out for the number one spot, and there could be something for that number one spot going into the end of the season. But go ahead, join that, and whilst we're getting all the plugs out of the way, I think only like 40% or something of people that are watching the channel right now are subscribed, so go ahead and change that. If you want to support the channel, 3 easy ways you can do it. Subscribe, like and comment your thoughts on the Everton game down below. It really helps me out reach as many Aston Villa fans as possible. But without wasting any more of your time on the plugs, but you know they are important for the channel, so do all the stuff. Let's have a look at the Premier League table, how it's going for Aston Villa so far, how Everton might line up, because to be fair, Everton have had a pretty decent start. They got off to a really, really dodgy start, but they've turned it around with the signing of someone we know very, very well, Jack Grealish. They have suddenly turned into a team that looks like they could challenge for that top 8 to 6 this season. So we're looking at all of that stuff and seeing, do Villa even have a chance? The Premier League table looks a little bit like this, and it's not pretty reading if you are an Aston Villa fan like me, and I'm sure most of you watching this video, if there's some Everton fans here, rejoice in this moment because it looks very, very good for you guys at the moment. But Everton currently sit 5th, and considering this game is at Everton's new ground, Everton are 5th. I would say Everton, for me, are favourites to win this game, just based off of what we've seen from Villa this season. But they currently sit 5th, goal difference of 2. With the 2 wins and the 1 loss, which was on the opening day of the season. Villa, however, fortunes have differed quite dramatically. We are all the way down in 19th. Only Wolves, who have lost all 3 of their games, are worse off than us. So out of the teams that have drawn and lost and all that kind of stuff, which actually I think we're at the bottom of it because we've lost 2. We're the only other team that's lost 2, I think, or well, that hasn't won a game, for want of a better word. We are ultimately doing really, really poor. 19th, goal difference of -4 already. Haven't scored. The only team, if you look through here on the table on the screen, which is there for me but there for you, the only team that haven't scored yet in the Premier League. We've conceded 4 goals. It's really, really bad viewing for Villa at the moment. And like I say, we go into this game, for my money, not the favourites. It's going to be really, really hard to turn around. But let's have a look at how Everton have done so far and the players that have been dragging them up into the top 5. Everton with 1 more competitive fixture played than Aston Villa this season because they entered the EFL Cup in round 2. Obviously, we play Brentford next. But they kicked off the season and everyone was like, oh, could this be a little bit dodgy? I mean, under David Moyes, it was never going to be. David Moyes and Everton is like a match made in heaven. But they lost 1-0 to Leeds United. Everyone thought, and then they've gone on to beat Wolves and Brighton, and then Mansfield, in the Cup as well. But very good wins: 2-0 over over Brighton, 2-0 over Wolves. Jack Grealish picking up 4 assists, yet assisting every single goal, I think, so far for Everton in the Premier League. And to get a 2-0 victory over Brighton, a team that everyone knows are very, very good. They've already beaten Manchester City this season. Yes, 3-2 over Wolves. My eyesight with all the lights, blinding. 3-2 over Wolves. Again, Wolves, probably going to go down, but you have to get the job done. Something that Villa don't look like they'll be able to do yet this season. And it's always good for morale when you're coming off 3 wins in a row. Even if it is Mansfield Town, it's always good for morale that you can get that win and push on from there. And again, the team that they are using, so this is the team that beat Wolves 3-2 on the screen. Obviously, Pickford in goal, we all know about that. O'Brien over on the right. The centre-back partnership, very, very solid. We know that David Moyes' teams are generally solid at the back. Tarkowski and Keane, yet they are getting on a little bit. But then Ollie Watkins hasn't looked fantastic this season either. And then Garner out on the left-hand side. Two players that we know very, very well. Arogbenham and Idrissa Gana-Gueye in the middle of the park. Arogbenham, a very, very talented youngster that we got rid of. I don't know why, just because he wasn't going to play. Emery didn't like him. And then there he is, Jack Grealish, starting out on the left-hand side of a front 3, in behind Barry of Dewsbury Hall, Grealish. And then I think, for me, their star man, Iliman and Dye, and then Barry up front as well. It's a very good, very well-rounded team. And one thing that I noticed about this team is Villa seem to struggle when we come up against teams that match us for formations. 4-2-3-1 is exactly what I expect Villa will play. So it's going to be very, very hard. And it's made all the harder by Villa's recent results, as you can see on the screen. Yep, the 2-0 against Villarreal was pre-season. We don't look too much into that. And then the 0-0 draw against Newcastle, where it was Marco Bizot that really dragged us through to that 0-0, and some awful finishing from a certain Gail Platt up front for Newcastle. And then Brentford, 1-0, did not look like scoring or creating in that game. And then from bad to worse, as Crystal Palace absolutely destroyed us at Villa Park. 3-0, game could have been 4-5, it could have been 6, just for how poorly we played. And has the international break done well for us? Well, Ezri Konsa getting on the score sheet for England, Morgan Rogers deciding that he can actually play football, something he hasn't done for Villa for a long time. Matty Cash getting 2 goals for Poland, but also going down with an injury. Tielemans getting a goal for Belgium as well. It could be good to reset us, and it's allowed the new lads of Lindelof, Sancho and Harvey Elliott to get in and get bedded in and learn how Emery wants them to play. I mean, I hope it stifled that awful run that we're on. But how might Villa line up? Well, let's have a look. And I think it could be a little something like this, and I'll talk through all of the decisions. Martinez comes back in goal ultimately. He hasn't left the club, and everything seems to suggest that he will be integrated back into the team. As much as I don't like it, I don't like how he acted. Bizot, he's not a number 1 goalkeeper, let's be fair, despite what Emery said in his interview. And we are 19th in the Premier League. You need everything that you can get to finish as high as possible. We can't have a bad season. We can't ultimately afford to finish outside of those European places. So I think Martinez just has to come back in, and he needs to be a professional. Now, obviously, this will be a judgment call on the part of Unai Emery and the backroom staff of how Martinez is being. But he is a professional getting paid a hell of a lot of money to play for Aston Villa. So I don't think he's the type that would, start playing bad or not be fully ingrained in each game that he's played. And also, if he wants to move, he has to play well, because otherwise he's going to end up like Onana over in Transport. On the left, I've gone for Ian Matson, and that is purely to counteract Iliman and Dye. Rapid player, great with the ball at his feet. Luca Digne, for all the positive attributes that he has, he's not the quickest in the world, and then Dye is Everton's danger man. I've gone for Mings and Konsa in the middle. I think Pau Torres' time at Aston Villa is winding down, if not done already. He looks awful every time he is on the pitch, and Mings seems to be going from strength to strength. Maybe he'd be one of those centre-backs like Thiago Silva, when they just get to like 34, 35 and all of a sudden they're just amazing. I don't know. Konsa, England goal scorer, probably one of our best and most consistent players, despite the red card against Newcastle. And then I've gone for Lamar Bagard at right back. No news on the Andres Garcia injury. Matty Cash was taken off at half-time, I think it was, for Poland, with a severe bruise to his leg, so it could have been a dead leg. I just don't think you want to risk it. Bagard, solid defensively. Yes, he's going to have to deal with the likes of Jack Grealish, but I can just see Jack Grealish absolutely rinsing Matty Cash, so I don't think it can get worse than that. The only other option that you have is to start Lindelof, which Emery doesn't particularly like starting new signings straight away, and it is a big risk against Barry, who's very lively, to throw him in and do that new centre-back partnership and then push Konsa out to the right, but I think he might do something like this. I think if Andres Garcia is fit, he has to start. One thing that Grealish doesn't have, and he never really had, was a massive amount of pace. Something that Garcia has, so possibly something to counteract that there. The defensive midfield partnership, Barkley, Onana and Kamara are all still injured as far as I'm aware. So I think it's going to be Tielemans and McGinn again, which isn't the worst in the world. And then going forward, I think one new signing will get a start, and that's because it's needed. We know that, he just doesn't rate Daniel Marlon for some reason. I don't think Marlon particularly had a lot of joy out on the right-hand side against Palace, although no one in the team did. So I think Harvey Elliott comes straight in. We start triggering that obligation to buy, which is 10 games. I think he comes straight in on that right-hand side. It allows Rodgers to play in the middle, in behind Watkins. And then I think Evan Guasson will get the nod over Jadon Sancho out on that left-hand side. I thought he was one of the brighter sparks against Palace, but got sacrificed at half-time when Emery tried something that just really didn't work. And then obviously Watkins up front, because we have no other strikers at the club apart from Marlon, who I think we could start seeing a John Duran situation with Watkins and Marlon, where possibly, because of how bad Watkins is playing so far, he gets 55, 60 minutes, 60 minutes, and then maybe we start Daniel Marlon up front, because we need someone who can break the lines. And at the moment, Watkins looks slow, cumbersome, not good on the ball. First touch has deserted him, so we need something new. Yes, that leaves score predictions. Well, Everton have a really, really good squad. They're well drilled under David Moyes. They're coming off of 3 competitive victories in a row, whereas we're coming off of 2 losses in a row. We have looked terrible this season. We genuinely have looked like one of the worst teams in the Premier League in these first 3 games. There is obviously that chance that the international break has reset the players' mentality. The 2 new signings coming in, I mean, I know Lindelof as well, but specifically Sancho and Harvey Elliott, who I do think we'll see from the start, might rejuvenate and revigorate the players in the squad. But it's away from home. It's Everton, who look really, really good. It's written in the stars that Jack Grealish will have at least a goal contribution in this game and probably celebrate or something, because he's a little snake like that. It sounds bad because we're a Villa channel, but I'm going to have to predict a 2-0 victory for Everton. I don't see where goals are coming from Villa at the moment, unless Elliott really hits the ground running. Maybe Sancho comes on as well. We need a spark, because at the moment we've played, 270 minutes of Premier League football, and I genuinely don't think we've looked like scoring once. So I think 2-0 Everton. I don't see this game as being where we get our first win of the season. Maybe we could etch out a 0-0 draw if the defence are on it, but it's just doom and gloom for me at the moment. What do you think though? Comment below. God, imagine if we lose again, man. That would actually be... the Emery out chance would be insane.